Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Women's Soccer Show. I'm Sarah.
And my name's Helen.
And Helen was just listening to some Eminem. No, I can't do that. I
spent the morning cleaning out my closet.
Did you really?
Do you not get it? Cleaning out my closet.
No, I don't get it.
It's one of his most famous tracks.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Oh, my God.
I know.
That joke was wasted on you. Go lose yourself.
Okay, that one I got. Should we redo this whole thing? Or should we just keep going?
I feel like keep it. And
we're going to power through
I
here.
need to tell everyone at home something. Sarah's delirious because...
Yeah, I'm a little loopy.
She's played her first soccer game in a long time, haven't you?
Well, I was playing soccer, but it was like smaller-sided soccer. I just played my first full field, 90-minute, 11-a-side in like a year and a half, and my body doesn't really know what's happening.
Were you wearing any tracking device?
No, I really wish I was. I got home and I was like, damn it. I chose not to because I didn't know if it was one of those leagues. I couldn't remember because it's been a year and a half since I played in it, and I couldn't remember if like I had to take my jewelry off or anything, and I was just like, whatever.
I have a question. Yeah. Do you get face hot? I get really face hot after football. My body's fine. My face is like burning.
Yeah, my face gets really wet.
Oh,
my face
I don't want to know.
My face gets really red and like salty.
I bet it does.
And then the salt dries and like crystallizes.
What the hell?
And yeah, I just really didn't know what was going on. I came back and I ate something because my body was starved for energy. And then it fully freaked out. And I started getting like shivers and cold, I think, because my body was like, we don't have energy to digest this. What's happening? So I had to jump in the shower. And then I just laid on the couch for a moment.
It's a bit dramatic, but it does sometimes feel like first few football games back, it does kind of feel like you're kind of starting to get the flu. And then you have a shower and you're like, oh no, I'm fine. I just played a game of football and my body doesn't know how to react to this.
Helen, I did not expect to play 90 minutes. I thought I was going to be able to I'll come in for 20.
You're going to be a Beth England.
Exactly. No, the whole second half was a struggle. The girl who was playing center mid with me at one point turned to me and was like, how you doing, Sarah? And I was like, oh, it's rough.
Can I do a really quick shout out while we're on here? Manchester Lacers yesterday, my wife and others played their first ever, like grown women, played their first ever women's football game. 11-a-side game, 90 minutes. I was so proud of them. They were all exhausted. Some of them were like, I run. I go for runs. I was like, good luck. Football's a completely different type of exercise.
Yeah, it's not the same.
They were all exhausted. I was so proud of them. I was literally like, my voice is a bit hoarse because I was like, yes, Manchester Lacers.
I'm so happy for them. That they must have been so happy. I'm thinking about like the first 11-a-side game that you've ever played in your life.
It was when you were like 7. So like,
wow,
I know. So it's amazing. How brave of them as well to like tackle, excuse the pun, tackle football, but tackle it in that, in their 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s even. Amazing. Yeah. It's our second to last episode. I'm really going to miss these little chats.
Our penultimate episode.
Just for this season.
So this season really flew by.
Yeah.
And just to be clear with everybody, this is not our second to last episode. This is our second to last episode of this season.
Yeah.
We're coming back. We actually have a date already on the books. July 20th will be our first episode back for season 4.
And that will be discussing the Olympics. The Tokyo Olympics. Why did I have to say it like that? I don't understand. And later on, we're talking to Tim, and we've already sort of penned in having a chat about the rosters for the Olympics, which is going to be just I think it's going to get quite violent, that conversation. I'm glad that you're on the other side of the world to me, because it's going to be intense, isn't it?
Yeah, hearts will be broken. Probably friendships will need to be mended afterwards. A lot's going to happen.
Today we'll be talking about the NWSL Challenge Cup Portland versus Gotham game, which was an amazing end to an amazing tournament. And we'll also be talking about the WSL Championship, and congratulations to Chelsea. Just going to say that straight away. We'll also be talking about Italy, Spain, France, and Mexico. And apparently, I actually haven't been kept up to date with Mexico this weekend because I've just not had time. Sarah's going to fill me in. I'm absolutely buzzing about it. So let's dive straight in. I feel a little bit envious because, guys, I've been kind of away from this convo for a few weeks, and I have missed a few of the games, but here we are at the final game, Portland versus Gotham FC. It was 1-1 in the end, went to penalty kicks, 6-5 to Portland Thorn in the 7th round of penalties in St. final. And of course, Sinclair and Lloyd had to score. It wouldn't be an NWSL final without two absolute legends of the game, probably the two biggest legends of the women's game right now, scoring in the game. Penalties, each team missed once in the first 5. Both misses hit the post. What the hell?
I could not believe that when that happened.
My stomach.
It was a post
flipping.
and a crossbar, and I was shook.
6th round. Who else? Sauerbrunn manages to bury it. Vane steps up and buries it too. And then sadly, Gotham miss and Portland score. Morgan Weaver buries it to take Portland Thorns all the way to the championship. And absolutely delighted they were. I have some questions for both Tim and Sarah, who are here to answer all of my NWSL trivia questions.
I just want to interject before you start the questions.
All right.
I have a question of my own. It just came to mind. I never got to ask Tim who he was rooting for in this game.
Oh, in this game alone. So
in this game alone, yeah.
In this game alone, I'm just such a lover of like an underdog story. So for me, I was really rooting for Gotham FC. I do understand that there are so many players on the Portland Thorns who I think are just incredible. And I think I really, really respect them so much. And it was hard to not root for people like Becky Sauerbrunn and Crystal Dunn, people that you really look up to as a soccer fan in the States. But the story behind Gotham and the players they became my team to root for sure.
It was quite remarkable.
We were both on Gotham, huh?
Gotham MC had an incredible tourno, so they should be incredibly proud. And again, nobody expected this. I think we said it about Houston back in the summer. If you put all of the teams in order, I think that they would be near the bottom as to like who you would have thought, who would win this. So for them to go all the way is pretty impressive. Tim, I'm going to start with you. First and foremost, high level overarching thoughts about this game. Did the best team win? And did you think both teams played their best game in the final?
I do think that, yes, absolutely the best team won, not only the best team in this game, but the best team in the entire tournament. Portland really, when you look at what they're putting together on the field, it's just in this exact moment on a different level from any other team in the league. You look at the midfield and how well they're clicking. It's not just the speed of the players physically, it's the speed of their thoughts, how they're thinking. They are stringing together passes, and you have Horan and Dunn and Sinclair, and they're thinking 3, 4, 5 passes ahead. And it's just throwing all other teams in the league, including Gotham FC in this final, for just a loop.
I like that you say overall as well, because they had a fantastic tournament. Sarah?
Absolutely the best team won. I think we could tell throughout the game, it wasn't just that Portland had control of the run of play. It was that they were able to dominate in all lines.
So one of you gets Gotham, one of you gets Portland. Sarah, I'm going to give you Gotham. What did they do well?
You could say that Portland missed a lot of their opportunities, or you could say that Gotham was able to hold them to just one goal. And when you have a team that's as dangerous as Portland, with as many threats as Portland, the fact that Gotham was able to hold them to one goal, keep themselves in this game, I think that that's what they did best. This was their game plan. They wanted to just absorb as much as they could and get Portland on the counterattack when they could, because Gotham is so lethal on the counter. And they did. They stuck to their game plan and it went according to plan. It's unfortunate they lost in penalty kicks, but I think that's what they did perfectly.
And what did you think that Portland did well, Tim?
I think that Portland went into this game kind of like Sarah alluded to, knowing that Gotham is this team that doesn't really want that much control of the midfield. They want to play in wide spaces. They want to play fast on the counter. But Portland said, you know what? We don't really care who you are and how you play. We're going to stick by what we do and make sure that we do what we do to the best possible ability that we can. And they took those midfielders and they just congested that midfield so badly that it just suffocated Gotham to the point where they couldn't create anything in the middle third of the pitch. You saw the goal that Portland did score when Christine Sinclair kind of picks the ball off of Carly Lloyd. And you look at what Lloyd had around her in that frame on the screen, and there's 4 black shirts just swarming her. And you look at like, okay, did Lloyd give up the ball? Yeah, but that's Portland's game plan. That's what they do. They did what they do really well. They congest the midfield, they cause turnovers, and they counter really quickly from their attacking third.
Did you think that they were unlucky to not go 2-1 up? Do you think it was offside? Personally, I think the angle was a bit funny. And I don't know whether I'm just being a biased Portland fan.
I think in moments like that, I never understand how refs can make those kind of choices. When I was looking at the game in real time, and then they showed, because it was on CBS, we had a few more angles. They showed the slower replay. It was really close. I couldn't really say either way, but there were quite
That's
a few
because you're
chances.
a Gotham fan. You've just admitted it. Oh my
No,
God, no
You're-
one's on my
you're-
team tonight.
You're only asking because you're a Portland fan, Helen.
I think there were so many other chances though that really Portland really should have buried. I thought Hericich's save on that late Sinclair goal was world class. Her stretch, her reaction. I thought Sophia Smith had several chances that she shot wide that really a player of her caliber, someone who's trying to show Vlatko and Andonovski that she belongs on the national team, really probably should have buried one of those. I do think that Portland should have come out of this in regulation, but hey, I'm always a fan for a really exciting finale shootout that goes to extra kicks, no less. So I loved it.
And the goal line clearance as well. I was saying to Sarah, It was one of my favorite moments of the game. I absolutely love that. So Sarah, back to Gotham for a minute. What did you think didn't go well for Gotham? And just thinking back over the tournament, what had gone well for them in prior games that hadn't quite, hit the mark against Portland?
I think that the addition of Ali Long is a great one and is going to benefit them in the long run. I think that it was really difficult for them and for her to slot into a team that had developed a natural chemistry and a natural rhythm, and then to slot her in a final game. And that shifted around some players in the midfield. Jennifer Cujo usually holding down the middle with Kawasumi over on the wing. Instead, they shifted so everybody was playing centrally with Kawasumi more attacking and then Cujo and Long more defensive. So they essentially, while it's the same formation, it's still a 4-3-3. It's a very different setup. And I think that was essentially, at the end of the day, their demise. It was more crowded in the middle of the field. Obviously, it did lead to them being able to defend the ridiculous midfield that is the Portland Thorns. But I did think at the end of the day, what didn't go well is those three in the middle. They haven't developed their chemistry yet. And while Gotham still was able to get their counters, they weren't able to hold the midfield down. And I think that the chemistry is a big part of it.
I always wondered whether the return of the international players would cause a rift for players going through the tournament, because it is psychological, isn't it?
Absolutely. These players who don't play internationally, they hold down the league while everybody else is off for a quarter of the season, half the season, whatever it is. They're the ones who are holding down this league. And you can look at it two ways. Number one, either one, that it's a lot more playing time and it's a way for them to show Vlatko when there's no internationals around and be the shining star of the league. Or you can look at it from the perspective of it's kind of not fair because they've been the ones who have really taken the team on their back and they're just going to get benched because an international player comes back. So It's a double-sided coin.
Tim, really quickly before we move on to Challenge Cup and the future of the Challenge Cup and the future of the NWSL, for Portland, what do you think would be their biggest takeaway from this tournament?
I think the biggest takeaway from this tournament is that when you looked at a Portland side towards the end of 2019 regular season, they finished the season kind of on a down note. You alluded to the internationals coming back that year. They kind of had trouble reintegrating the internationals back into the side. The side was doing really well, actually, in the international absence for the World Cup. The internationals came back and they kind of saw a drop in their play. They then go to face Chicago in the semifinal, and they just don't cut it. And the players after that game mentioned that the big difference for this team, they still had the talent, they still had the skills, they still had the chemistry, but that it was psychological for them. They needed to rebuild that psychological aspect of their game and really rediscover their team identity as a unit. And I think that is what they have now done over these past two off seasons. And that's the biggest takeaway for this team, is that if they can keep rebuilding their identity and keep strengthening that, they're going to be untouchable.
So recently, Sarah and I have been talking a little bit about amazing transitions in podcasting and how we're going to transition between segments every time we do something. So I feel like this would be a good transition moment, but it's annoyingly in the middle of our segment. We've been talking a lot about the leavers of the WSL, and the leavers of the WSL just happen to be the arrivals of the NWSL. So next season and the future of the NWSL and the NWSL season that's coming up, How do you feel that it's going to change over the coming 6 to 8 months as you start to get the return of some players and new signings and you sort of enter a more season format?
I mean, I think it's going to be great. I think from the players, the Challenge Cup being kind of crammed into a month is just, it's a bit busy. It's tough on the body. And so I think having the more regular season schedule, the weekend games, kind of setting up that flow in the season, then you're going to get the influx of new players into the league and some familiar old faces as well. There's been several rumors flying around that have been at this point unconfirmed, but
I love
think
foreshadowing.
Yeah, and share them. Come on, give us the gossip.
Well, I don't want to rain on your parade too much, Helen, but word on the street is that Sam Ewis will be returning to the Courage.
It's all because Helen scared her away in the coffee shop.
I mean, I think that alone is going to be just such a difference maker for that side. Specifically, you also see a player like Angara James coming over from Reading. It's going to be joining the Courage as well. And she has been incredible in the WSL this season, really as kind of that holding midfield presence for Reading. And I think that's one of the components that the Courage have been really missing. And I think her arriving as well is going to allow Sam Ewis to actually play higher on the pitch. Versus the past few seasons, Sam Ewis for the Courage has almost played out of position and been forced to hold back more as the dual six next to Denise O'Sullivan. I think having James there is going to allow Sam Ewis to almost fill Crystal Dunn's old role. And I'm so excited to see how she can make that difference for the side.
Really quick anecdotal thing about the Angara James signing. I got a message from someone very close to the James camp asking if I could get, because obviously I work in football shirts now for Fowdies, saying, can you get an NCC jersey? We're about to sign somebody in the next 24 hours and they're based in the UK, so we need an NCC jersey. Can you find one? And I was like, shit, I need to make this happen. Obviously wasn't able to source an NWSL jersey in the UK because that's like sourcing, I don't know, like the most impossible task to give somebody. But I thought that was quite a cool thing that I kind of got the little nod, like someone major in the WSL is moving over to the NWSL. And when I saw it was Angara James, I was like, that's pretty cool. Speaking of awesome players and people who've really sort of shown themselves this season, and back to the Challenge Cup, Sarah, who was your player of the Challenge Cup? Who was your MVP?
It's gonna sound obvious.
Oh, here we go. No, don't know.
When you're talking about standout players and who had the spotlight, it was Rodman, and that was it. I think for me personally, Midge Purse, really everybody knows her. She's like a staple in this league and she does have the spotlight, but I think that she was able to show herself on a new level. And I really appreciate being able to watch that. But in terms of players who nobody knew and nobody had watched before, that we all are now really excited to see play in the regular season, Rodman.
Tim, what you saying?
For me, my soccer history is as a defender, so I tend to lean towards the defensive unit. I don't think defenders get enough love in the world of football, but for me, the standout, hands down MVP was Ashlyn Harris. I thought her performances.
Great pick, Tim.
Yeah, of course, the PK saves.
I wanna change my answer.
I thought she was absolutely incredible. Really, what she was doing for that Orlando side is unparalleled by any other player, for me at least, in the rest of the league. She is the heartbeat, she is the soul, she is the mental focus, she is everything for that team. She puts that whole team on her back. And for someone who I've really been critical of her performances in the past because she tends to have kind of an on-off switch, she was lights out this whole tournament. That 9-save performance against Washington was just, it wasn't just the quantity of her saves too, it was the quality of her saves. They were impeccable. Those back-to-back PK like saves, it was just unbelievable. And I think you see an Orlando side right now that is, I think, at least on the rise. And I think a lot of that has to do with the persistent leadership from a player like Ashlyn Harris.
And she did it all on 4 hours sleep because of having a new baby in house.
Yeah, congrats to the new parents. Yeah.
She for sure, if she didn't play herself into the Olympic roster with those performances, I'm not sure what's happening.
To be honest, I think not only did she play herself into the Olympic roster, if I was Vlatko Andonovski, which obviously I'm not, and obviously I'm way underqualified to be making
Helen,
these decisions.
I thought we booked
I thought we
Vlatko.
booked Vlatko on.
But I mean, I'd be considering her for the starting role. I really would.
That's a big statement.
I think Nair is great. I really do. But I think that when you look at these two players playing side by side, they've been competing with each other for the better part of like 7-8 years
their
behind
entire
Hope
careers,
Solo.
really.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that right now in this moment, Ashlyn Harris is outplaying Alyssa Nair. I do. And I love Alyssa Nair. So it just
I've
is what
always
it
said
is.
this. It's so difficult for the US women's national team when they stay in America to compete for those US women's national team spots, because often the players don't play an entire season. They don't play many games. What more could Ashlyn Harris do, frankly, to get a first team spot? What you're saying isn't ridiculous in its nature, but it is ridiculous when you think of the US women's national team and how they do things and how they operate. Like a player like Rosa Lavelle will start, no doubt, for me, because she is world class, even though her Manchester City performances have either been non-existent, as in she's not been played in that number 10 role, or she's played and not had the greatest performance. You know, today had a penalty save and didn't have the greatest game. So it's that funny thing, because what can Ashlyn Harris really, what more can she do?
I think it's partially the plight of the goalkeeper position.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
yeah,
a goalkeeper position isn't one that you're going to switch up a lot of the time. Same with center backs, but even more so with goalkeepers. And
You're
the
right.
fact that there's only one of them doesn't help either.
My final question is kind of on the format of the NWSL and moving forwards. Like, how do we feel ending this in May and moving into a regular season and, you know, kicking off the regular season? How does that format feel to you, Tim? Do you feel like happy, excited about it? Does it feel a bit too much, overkill? Like, do you think the hype's there? What are you saying?
I think for this season, for the year of 2021, how they structured the year made a lot of sense. There really is so much question surrounding the COVID-19 pandemic and how that's going to affect the players. The NWSL was blessed with extraordinarily low COVID-19 numbers this season. They've been doing and publishing weekly testing numbers, and there's been essentially no positives for majority of the season. I think less than 10 positive cases the whole season, the whole Challenge Cup. In playing in home markets and traveling on planes is really, really fantastic. And so that's not something that they necessarily thought was going to happen. Lisa Baird and the NWSL leadership team put this cup in the front of the season in May as kind of a preseason tournament with the idea that, hey, if we need to shut this down, we can do that. We can buy ourselves a whole nother month and a half, and then we can start fresh and start the season over. I think that starting the season like this, though, in the long term isn't really sustainable. I think that it really kind of burns the players and the fans out almost a bit at the start of the season, and then kind of creates a lull in the hype for the season that actually is beginning in only like 1-2 weeks now. So it's coming in really hot. I think moving forward, the best bet would be to start the regular season and try to work this cup format in some way, kind of like how they do it in England, where it's mixed in throughout the league. Maybe have some sort of final elimination tournament during a international tournament window or something like that. Maybe try to bring in a few non-NWSL teams even. We have some fantastic teams in Liga MX Femenil. There's other teams coming from Europe, trying to get some more people in this tournament if we can. There's so many options moving forward, but I think how we do it right now in 2021 is not going to be what we see permanently.
I totally agree with everything that Tim just said.
Same.
As a player, it's so hard on the body. As a fan, though, I think that what the league found is that the Challenge Cup creates a ton of hype, and it would be a loss to not somehow try to sustain that. So I agree that maybe this format of Challenge Cup into the regular season, it's true. The hype has really fallen off for the regular season starting next week. It has. On the other hand, I think it's going to be really fun to see how different the regular season is from the Challenge Cup, because a tournament mentality is so different from a long regular season. And I think that we'll have different winners and that people will still be engaged. But with that being said, there needs to be a way for the future to make them both sustainable.
100% agree. That wraps up our NWSL chat for the Challenge Cup. Sarah, we will likely be back with you, Tim, hopefully, if you want to come back over the coming weeks and months to talk about all things NWSL when we get going with the regular season. Congratulations to Portland. And we will speak to you soon, Tim. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. Pleasure as always.
It's one of my favourite segments of the show, guys. Still haven't done a jingle, but it's all good. Around the world, around the world. That is one of my worst ones, but I've got a really sore throat today.
I think at the end of the day, as long as we hear you say Sassuolo, we're all going to be
Yeah,
happy.
that's so true. So let's go straight to Italy on that note. Juventus clinched the Serie A title on Saturday with a 2-0 win against Napoli. Milan sat in second, but with their 3-1 loss to Fiorentina, Juventus now sit 11 points ahead with only 2 weekends to go in the league. There is a race for second place and the only other Champions League spot since only 2 teams joined the Champions League from the Serie A. So with Milan's loss on Saturday, third place Sassuolo gained ground on them. They sit 3 points behind Milan, 2 games to go. I'm not going to lie, I think you all probably know at home who I am rooting for. Come on, Sassuolo. You can do it.
Sassuolo,
I believe in you.
Over to España and the Primera Iberdrola División. I'm just going to pause and let all of that Spanish accent sink in.
Everybody is so turned on right now.
Barcelona, unsurprisingly, clinched the Primera Iberdrola title on Sunday. With their 1-0 win against Granadilla Tenerife, they sit out of reach with 78 points total, 26 wins, no losses, no draws, and a goal difference of plus 123.
That is disgraceful.
Absolutely disgraceful.
123. I didn't know they'd got up that high.
Yeah, plus 123.
That 1-0 win is pretty disappointing, isn't it, when you put...
Considering all that, yeah.
123. Sorry.
And they still have some weekends to bump that up even more.
They're like, we're aiming for 150. Come on, Hills, we can do it.
This season is a failure if we don't get plus 150.
Yeah.
Unlike the Italian league, the top 3 finishers of the Spanish league will join the Champions League, and these spots look all but secured. Second place Levante and third place Real Madrid sit 11 and 10 points ahead of fourth place Sociedad, respectively, and seem to have secured their place in the Champions League.
I tweeted today about Real Madrid. I really think they're going to go hard in the transfer window. They're in the Champions League. They've got a class squad. I really feel like this summer is going to be massive for Real Madrid.
I think that's a really good call.
Yeah, I'm not going to go too far, but they're kind of the Man United, I guess, of that league, like really going for it, and they're a brand new team, so why not? Over in France, PSG still sit 1 point ahead of Lyon. Can we just stop this conversation right now? Because everyone knows what I'm going to say.
Yeah, just tell them when the game is then.
Oh, for God's sake. PSG need to play Lyon.
It just got announced. We don't know this.
Okay.
We didn't know this last week.
This is new
Get a little pep in your step,
Oh,
Helen.
God. I just can't be bothered talking about these two anymore.
Oh, my goodness.
They're done with the Champions League. I'm done with them. PSG play Lyon on the 30th of May. Essentially, that is the title decider because there's 1 point between them. Bordeaux will be their third team qualifying for the Champions League from Division 1. So, essentially, we don't know what order it's going to be, but Lyon, PSG, Bordeaux going in the Champions League next season. Let's talk about Mexico. I'm so excited.
Helen's a little grumpy today, apparently. I've been already chatting with her for 50 minutes, and it hasn't come out until now, but you just say PSG, and she's like, God damn it.
I'm still bitter that they majorly screwed me over with the Champions League, those lot. If they just won their bloody games, then I'd be ahead of Sarah.
I'm not proud of you.
Mike just slowly turns my volume down. It's like, no more Helen.
I'm just going to make you feel better here because we're going to talk about Mexico.
Yes, finally.
If you remember from last week, this league was all going to be decided on the final day of games. First and second place were playing each other, and third and fourth place were playing against each other. So, how did it end? First place Unal beat second place Guadalajara 4-3, and fourth place Monterrey beat third place Atlas. However, we learned something new. I learned something new, and that is that La Liga MX Femenil doesn't end in the regular season.
You're joking!
It's not a regular season format like the WSL is. It's a regular season format like the NWSL is, where you have a regular season and then you have playoffs to determine the actual champion. So we're not done yet. So what's happening is the top 8 teams are all playing in a playoff format tournament. Each stage has 2 legs, like in the Champions League. So top 8 teams are all playing each other. That means that we're in the quarterfinals right now. So we're in this for a while before we determine the winner.
For absolutely no apparent reason, reckon Unal, aka the Pumas, are like my team.
Is it because they're in first?
Maybe. Maybe I'm just a glory hunter. Who knows? We will be back after this short advert break.
Have you checked out Total Football Analysis yet? TotalFootballAnalysis.com provides researched analysis on loads of football games, including women's football. Want to know why Miedemar scores so many goals? Do you want to explore how City have turned it around this season? Head over to TotalFootballAnalysis.com and sign up to learn more about the beautiful game. We have a special discount for listeners of the Women's Soccer Show. At checkout, type WOSO10 to get a full year for €10. That's €40 off the yearly subscription. Head over to TotalFootballAnalysis.com and type WOSO10 at checkout.
We're finally here. This is it. The last time I will say the words WSL for approximately 17 minutes when I say them again.
Actually, Helen, I have something to tell you. The WSL has added a playoff format. This was not...
They did it ages ago. We've been talking about this being the last week for the last 2 months.
Can you imagine?
Oh, that'd be so embarrassing.
All right, how it ended, because you were grumpy grump about having to recap a lot of things.
Well, generally I'm grumpy today for obvious reasons.
Is it because City didn't win the title?
Shut up!
How did it end? Bristol needed to win to have a chance at escaping relegation. They did not, so unfortunately, Bristol will be relegated. Second and third place City and Arsenal didn't really show up very strongly for their final week. Arsenal tied Aston Villa, and City barely squeaked out a win against West Ham with a late goal. But at the end of the day, our FA WSL champions are Chelsea FC. Woot, 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 woot. Helen, I just have to do a moment because you were really pulling for Bristol to not be relegated.
Yeah, tough day for me today.
Tough day for you today.
Do you know what? I'm really happy for Aston Villa. I saw Anita Asante tweeted about, how hard the team have been working, and Villa have had to work really hard over the last few weeks to escape this, and by the skin of their teeth, with a point today against Arsenal, which is no mean feat, they have done it. So congratulations to Villa for staying up. West Ham, scary few moments there, so they've got a lot of learnings over this summer. And I'm just sad for Bristol City. And I spoke on a podcast recently when I was talking about Fowdies and the shirts that we do and stuff. And
you were cheating on me?
I am. I'm sleeping with other podcast hosts. One of the things that makes me so sad is that I don't want the WSL to be a mirror of the Premier League, where the big clubs in the Premier League own women's clubs and stuff. And Bristol City were a perfect example of a club that, have an amazing fan base, and it makes me really sad, to see them go down to the WSL 2. But I think that they'll be really strong in the WSL 2. I wonder what Ebony Salmon's going to do in the summer. That's a really exciting, and a few other players actually who really, come out of the woodwork in that Bristol City team. And, the future's bright.
Yeah, it's disappointing. I certainly hope that this isn't an indication that deep Premier League team pockets are just going to be the ones running the show and talking, because I think that that's a really wonderful thing about the WSL. And Bristol City have a lot of heart, and I would love to see them back up a year from now.
Quick reminder to all of those clubs that listen to this podcast, all the owners of the football clubs out there, to run a successful and Champions League winning football team in the women's football, you need to invest around £6 million a year. So for the likes of every single Premier League team who gets £120 million booster every season, it's pennies and it's worth it. And, jump on the roller coaster now. So, yeah, sorry, that's my kind of final word on it, but that they should be supporting clubs like Bristol City to be able to maintain their women's team and really challenge. And on that note, fair play to clubs like Reading. I know they lost today, and it kind of neatly brings us on to that Chelsea-Reading game where they lost 5-0, but Reading are a championship men's team that are kind of struggling, but their women's team are a beacon and are, really now becoming an iconic team in women's football, and they've got some class players and they really make an effort with their women's team. So Reading, here's my little clap for you. Now on to Chelsea. Chelsea deservedly won the WSL title. Easily the best team, the Golden Boot winner, the Golden Glove winner in the Chelsea squad. How did you feel about that?
I'm so happy. I feel like kind of residually, I feel like maybe Sam Kerr feels like screw all you haters who were trying to call me out at the beginning of this and feels happy now because she got to prove them all wrong. I basically feel that for her as if I was her. That's how I'm feeling right now. I'm mainly just so happy. And then Berger got the Golden Glove, which also really deserved. We've seen her standout performances.
What I will say about Sam Kerr is she really snuck up on that golden boot, in my opinion. And I really obviously watched this league very closely. And I remember at one point, she was just up behind Miedemar, and I was thinking, oh, hello, Sam. When did you score all of them? And she kind of just snuck up, and then all of a sudden she's just walked away with it. Finishing the season with over 20 goals. And she did take a few weeks to get into it. I think her goal to game ratio is like every 75 minutes she scores a goal. That's insane in football.
That's incredible.
Unbelievable. So what I kind of wanted to do, they won 5-0 today. In the words of Emma Hayes, it wasn't their greatest performance, and other players said it wasn't their greatest performance. It's kind of by the by. They've been consistent all season. I just want to know, what do you think this, back-to-back Chelsea championship means for the future of the WSL? What do you think this means for Chelsea? Where do they go from here? What do they do in the summer? Do they need to bolster their squad? And I guess, what does this mean for next weekend?
First of all, I think what this means for the WSL is it's more of a wake-up call to the other clubs than anything to do with Chelsea. I think that this is essentially a call to City, Arsenal, United, even Everton, Reading, these middle of the table teams, that there needs to be some deeper competition, and I think that there will be. But when you have a back-to-back champion, you have to look at the squad and wonder why they are so dominant and try to replicate that within your squad. What I think it means for the Champions League, you know what? It's really hard to win 2 titles in a row, and I actually think that this is not a slight to them, but this is just human instinct. There is some just like general come down after you win the title and you celebrate and you feel relief, like you accomplished something. It's hard to ramp back up and be like, oh, now we have to go be competitive again and do this again. So I actually think that this could be a detriment to Chelsea right now.
One of the things I will say, Emma Hayes spoke after, it gave me great confidence in Chelsea going into next week, but she was speaking to the commentary team, and I think it goes back to what you were just saying there about City and Arsenal and Man United and all the other women's teams, and how a bit of investment and support would go a long way. But Emma Hayes said it's so much more than that. She was like, today, the Chelsea men's team and ex-players, and they're sat up there in the stands, and I've already said it before, people like John Terry, players like from our Chelsea through and through, are sat in the stands supporting this women's team. You've got the Chelsea board, the ownership sat there in the stands for this Reading game, and they really take it seriously, Chelsea. And I just do get the impression from City, as an example, City have got all this investment, City have built this stadium, and it's down the road from me. It's absolutely stunning and a state of the art, but you do just get the impression that it's like, it's really, we've got a women's team and we really take it seriously, but are they really invested in it? Is this really something that is super crucial? Like when they're sat there and they're drawing a line under their last financial year, are they going, right, it's crucial that we give the women a big chunk of money to build on this Man City squad? Or are they just bringing up, the management's a key indicator. They brought a men's second team juniors manager to manage the women's team at Man City. And Emma Hayes was a big coup. She came in and she's built this kind of group around her of people that digress the game as it's going on and go into major detail on what's happening on the pitch. And I just think the Chelsea structure is so much more than you see on the pitch. It's so much more than you see on the sidelines. I think it's in the boardroom. I think it's in the structure of the club, and the club love their women's team. And it's a big thing in the UK. I don't know whether you've seen it, Sarah, where you are, but this whole Chelsea in the men's final and Chelsea women in the women's final, it's been a worldwide thing. Like, people are talking about, wow, Chelsea, what an amazing thing to get your women's and your men's team in the Champions League final in one season. And I think the other clubs will be going, like that looks really good.
That looks really good.
It's really impressive.
I think you're totally right. And, we love a good transition. Speaking of City and Arsenal and these other clubs.
I don't want to talk about it.
City came in second. Arsenal came in third. Obviously, they've qualified for the Champions League, so that's something. But they didn't win the title. what do these teams, and you could even throw in United or Reading or Everton or these middle of the table teams, but let's talk specifically City, Arsenal. What do they need to do to catch up?
Well, I think, first of all, this is where we're going to have a bit of an argument, I think. I think that a big mistake they made was they papered over cracks by bringing in the US girls, and they knew that they weren't going to get them on long terms. Obviously, Dahlkemp are not included in this, by the way, but they knew they weren't going to get them on long-term contracts. And you said it earlier in this show about how they started in the final, Gotham, with new players being slotted in here and there, and how it just changes the way that a team works. This Chelsea squad going into next year doesn't really have to do much to keep going with momentum, bringing a few players here and there. City have pretty much dismantled their entire team now. For me, they need a new striker. Chloe Kelly's now done her ACL, so she's their best player, top goal scorer. She's out. You've got Sam Lewis, as we already said earlier in the show. She's back off to America.
Rumored.
I'm sorry. Rumour has it. You've got Lavelle, who, although didn't have the greatest spell at City, should have had the greatest spell at City because she is a world-class player, no doubt in my mind. So for me, it's disappointment all round because they're not only going into the summer period having, invested all this money to have this amazing 2020-21 team for this season to kind of go away with not very much, one trophy, like quite disappointing.
So was it all about bringing in players? Do City and Arsenal just need to bring in players that are there for the long haul?
Both need a management switch. Joe Montemurro is obviously leaving anyway, but I think it was time anyway. It was coming to that time. I think Manchester City need a more experienced women's manager to come in my opinion. Somebody who's a winner, who's experienced winning around the world, and there's so many people out there that could do that job. And build a team that's going to be there and going to last through. Rumour has it that Ruby Mace is coming from Arsenal to Manchester City. I think that she's a really good steal from Arsenal there. And I think they need to build an infrastructure around young players like Georgia Stanway and young players that can kind of win them championships. But Chelsea don't need to do much. That's the worrying thing.
Absolutely. I totally agree. I think what you said about City and Arsenal, they do seem like, while they're obviously here and competing, they might not be on the upward trajectory, and they need to make some changes in order to do that. Teams like United and Everton, what they're building, I mean, United's almost like a mini Chelsea right now, where Chelsea has Emma Hayes and they're building everything around her, and United has Casey Stoney, and it's very similar. She basically has the keys to the chest that holds all of the money, and she can spend it as she pleases, and they're building something around her. So I totally agree with both of those points that you mentioned. I will say, I know you said we'd probably have differing opinions. I totally agree what you're saying about papering over the cracks with the U.S. players, but I do think that there were some benefits to having them. That aside just being on the field, obviously they brought a lot of talent to the field. Sam Mewis, arguably one of the standout players from City all season. I think what it also did, though, was brought awareness and publicity about the WSL over here to the U.S. when there really wasn't much at all before. And now everybody knows what it is. It's on TV, not a lot, but like every now and then it's on TV. I guarantee you 2 years ago, it was never on TV. So I do think that there are some benefits to having those players move across the pond for a little bit.
I think, and also for the players, like you look at like Lauren James, how amazing would it be to train with Kristen Press every day as an example, and that's in the City squad as well. I completely agree with you. I just think from a championship perspective, if you're Manchester City, you're questioning like, how have we not won anything this year? How have we come away with absolutely nothing? With what we've done. You look at the sort of parallels. I think City and Chelsea are in their own camp, to be totally honest. Even judging by today, a 0-0 against Villa for Arsenal, but they're in their own camp, and it's City versus Chelsea, and they both made opposite decisions in the last transfer window. Chelsea bring in Peniel Harder, Sam Kerr, and you're going, bloody hell, do you need any more strikers? I mean, you've got Kirby coming back from injury, you've got Beth England, and I've said it on the show. I've said, well, what's going to happen to those players? Like, and Beth England, I saw today, she played 19 fixtures. She got 19 games in there. She scored a ton of goals. She's in the top 10. She's still scoring goals. She's still happy. She's got a smile on her face. She's going to the Champions League final next week. So they're doing something right. And then, if you look at City's decision making, it was, we're going to make some major, game changer marketing decisions, which is the US contingency that came over and played this season, and they were huge signings, and Abby in particular was needed now, it turns out, with Steph's injury. But like Abby coming over, it's huge. But I just on the other side, I just think how much has that grown your club? Because actually it's just like, yeah, people are going to go away with their like Lavelle, Man City shirts, and fantastic, but she's not been part of history of the Manchester City club, just like Alex Morgan wasn't. Like, it's like a coup. It's a cool thing to tick off your list. We had some of the legends play for us. Chelsea have made some infrastructural changes which are going to be there now for God knows how many seasons. Sam Kerr will lift more championships, I have no doubt, under Emma Hayes, and potentially we'll be lifting our first Champions League next week.
I think that's a great distinction. I totally agree. Final piece is we're looking ahead with the WSL because this season has concluded. There was no playoff. Chelsea did
sad.
win. I know, I'm sad that it's over too. Are you sad because City didn't win, or are you sad that it's over?
All of it. I'm just gonna... Sorry. No, was that good acting though?
For a moment, I was like, "Oh my god,
this is so."
I don't know how to handle this over Zoom."
Do you want a virtual hug or no? I feel sad, obviously, because we do this every week. It's kind of part of our little routine, and it feels sad that it's over. But also, it felt like it was real gaining momentum as the season's been going on. We got the deal a few weeks ago to go on Sky, and it's going to be aired around the world, and it feels sad that it's ending because momentum was really starting to pick up. Hope this little break now in between, now and August, when the WSL hots back up again, doesn't tone things down very much, and everyone gets excited and buzzed about it all.
I totally agree, and I think that it will. I think maybe everybody will take their little time off and come back even more excited. I feel like you did that on purpose, your little transition with the TV deal, but you might not have. But if you did, it was lovely. The last point, while that was a beautiful note to end on, we're not going to end on it, because the last point that I think we should touch on is this new TV deal and potentially what impact it will have on the league next year, if any.
I think that what we've got at the moment is we've got a set of fans who actively go out of their way to watch women's football. So they download an app, they go onto the app, they watch it for free. And someone like my dad doesn't stumble upon that. I would say to my dad, like, "Oh, there's an amazing women's game on. Do you want me to explain for you to watch it?" And now my dad and other dads, not just dads, I don't know why I'm talking about my dad so much, but people will stumble upon these games, and the quality is there to, like, for us to brag about it.
Well said, in your raspy little voice over there.
Oh yeah, I can scream, "Come on, Manchester Laces!"
Well, we're sad that the WSL is ending. The good news is the NWSL regular season starts next weekend, which is awesome. We apparently have a playoff going on in Mexico.
Who knew?
Who knew? We still have the Champions League final next weekend, which Helen and I are obviously covering in our last episode, which will be next week.
I'm so excited.
It's going to be
so
fantastic.
Excited.
We'll talk offline about potentially this being the one that we go live for.
Do you reckon? Yes, I'm so excited for the Champions League next week. 8 p.m. kickoff for anyone that doesn't know in the UK. What time is that over there?
3 p.m. Eastern over here, and then everybody in other time zones can do that math.
Yeah, do your own math.
Yeah.
I'm not doing a world map for you. You can actually bugger off, frankly. It took me too long to do the NWSL ones. So, Champions League next week. Then we'll have a little break. We're back for the Olympics, of course. And in the meantime, check out our Patreon, patreon.com/the WSL Show, to check out our extra content, which we'll be releasing roughly every week, every other week. And please sign up. It really helps us to kind of fund the show and get an editor and do all of that sort of stuff. Thank you so much.
Shout out to Mike, who's our editor.
We love it. We love you, Mike. You're the best.
We love you, Mike.
Thank you so much for listening this week. I've been Helen.
I've been Sarah. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.